live. I'm Dr. Robi Ludwig in Star Shop Studio in Times Square. Today we are talking about a really interesting documentary called Godspeed. And we have the two stars and executive producers right here to tell us all about the movie, which comes out May 22nd. We're going to have links so you can see the show, buy the show, and it is really, really interesting to watch Brad Cooper and Jerry Schemmel in this bike riding race that honestly, I don't know how anyone does. So thank you so much for being here.
Great to be here.
I really enjoyed seeing your process of just dealing with the challenges. But before we get started, how did you come up with the name Godspeed?
I think Martin came up with
that.
Yeah,
I think our producer that actually did all the footage, followed us, came up with that name. Yeah, and I think he threw some other names at us for movie title, and we kind of voted. And
I like this one.
Go.
Yeah. And what does Godspeed mean? There was some definition in the documentary. It opens up with a definition of what Godspeed means.
Yeah, it means have a great journey. It's like hey,
God be with you.
Yeah, good luck. It's have a great journey is what it translates to.
Now, the two of you are in different businesses.
Very.
Brad, you are CEO of a wellness company.
Correct.
And you've written multiple books. And Jerry, you are in the radio business. How did the two of you meet and decide to do this race?
I'll take that one.
Okay.
So we knew of each other, but that was about the extent of it. We went to the same church.
Oh.
We crossed each other in the hallway. Our kids were the same age, so there was some overlap with birthdays, that kind of thing. But he sent me an email one day, I think through LinkedIn, and said, "Can you send me your email? I'd love to get together for lunch." And literally, I thought he was selling some multi-level marketing thing because we hadn't done anything.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, we're going to have lunch. And I turned to my wife and I said, "Well, I think he's doing this, but it seems like a nice guy, so might as well."
Yeah.
And one thing led to another, and it ended up being much worse than multi-level marketing.
Because I have to say, I couldn't tell when I was watching the movie if the two of you had known each other a lifetime or just decided to pair up for this particular race. Now, you had a major accident.
6 weeks before the race, I was out doing some time trial work, which is just 10-mile repeats on the bike, and there was a little water on the ground, and I actually slid one point and said to myself, "Oh, Brad, dude, you're 6 weeks out. Don't mess this up." And so I was a little more cautious. Well, the last one came around this turn. I'm in full aero, which is the down position, and a goose flies into the bike, and I wake up. I have 8 fractures, 3 in the pelvis, 4 broken ribs, broken clavicle, and a concussion. And be over at that point. Jerry was on the phone saying, "Take his spot." So it was.
You were ready to dump him for somebody else.
Well, you got to have a backup because we had this whole team.
Yeah.
I'm going to leave him hanging because I'm laying there in a hospital bed.
Now, I imagine you needed a doctor's approval to say it's okay to go on this race, or
I'm a physical therapist, and so I knew a lot of the docs and basically huddled up with 3 folks that I really respect. They looked at the pelvic fractures. The clavicle they repaired right away. When they repaired that helped separate the ribs a little bit, but the pelvic fractures were the concern. And so what they told me is, as long as you will do the last 6 weeks of training in your basement on the bike, in your basement, and you don't have any risk of falling again, we'll approve you going ahead and doing this race because 6 weeks give me just enough time to probably be healing up as we're starting the race. So
you did get approval.
I did.
Oh, that's good. Yes. Did you notice any difference in Brad as a result of having this accident?
No, he was the same. He was the same dude. Yeah. It was amazing because it's 6 weeks out, and I've broken my collarbone crashing on a bike, and it's 6 to 8 weeks before mine felt normal again. And he does this thing with other fractures in less than that. I mean, and never complained about it, never said a word about it. Shows up with all these bandages on his knees and all this stuff. And I could tell a couple times when he would sit down, there would be some pain. We stand up, there'd be some pain, but he never said a thing. Toughest dude in the world right here.
I thought it was so nice that your children joined you for this journey because they were following you in a car, right?
They were part of our crew.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, oh my God, I would so, after a while, just want to finish the race in the car. And I would give myself credit for that. I came across this quote today, I swear to God. And I was like, this is so me. My favorite exercise is a cross between a lunge and a crunch called lunge. I was like, yes, that's me. That is me. It was interesting to see that you both have very different styles and philosophies, and one of the differences the two of you had is about sleep. And this is a race. Maybe we should back up a little bit and tell people what this race is, what it looks like, and what you were doing it for. It's called Race Across America, and it's a 3,000-mile race, correct? Okay.
Yep. West Coast to East Coast, so 3,000 miles, 12 states, I think 175,000 vertical feet of elevation gain, so going up and down mountains basically. And you do it nonstop as a two-person relay team. We finished in 7 days, so we did a little over 400 miles a day. But 24/7, beyond during the day for an hour, Brad beyond for an hour. At night, we gave each other a little more time to sleep.
Yeah.
And we just raced it through and moved across the country at 17 miles an hour.
Oh my God. So who believed in more sleep, less sleep? Do you believe in sleep now?
We did the same. We planned in advance, so we followed the same sleep pattern. What we did is different from the other teams. So most of the other teams would do a one-on, one-off during the night. And we said, okay, we're going to lose a little time because you can't sustain the same pace over 4 hours as another team could over an hour. But we thought by day 2 or 3 or 4, that would make a big difference. So during the day, we would do the short spurts of 20 minutes to 60, 75 minutes. At night, we go 2, 4, 4, 2. So I'd go 2 while he got a little break, and he'd go long, and then I'd go long, and then he'd go short, and then we go back into our regular routine. It made a big difference.
I'm sure, and it sounds like you really strategized. You had a strategy and a philosophy in place, which I would think is really necessary. Was there at any point during this very long race where you said, I can't do it? Was there any point?
No, we knew it.
No, there wasn't. Been asked that a lot. Is there a point where you just wanted to quit or you didn't think you were going to make it? No, neither one for me. There was a point, and it's in Godspeed, where I got a little shook up because I went down a mountain and got blinded in the rain for about 10 seconds, and my daughter was behind me, and I'm thinking, I don't want to have my daughter watch me ride off the side of a mountain and die. So that shook me up a little bit. And I suggested to our crew chief that we maybe just stop for an hour or two. And it presented to Brad, and Brad didn't want to do that. So we kept going, and I'm glad that we did.
Your backstory is really fascinating. You are a plane crash survivor. So some of you may remember the Sioux City plane crash. You survived. And you talk about how there's something about this race that helps you to feel alive.
Yeah.
There's some connection there.
Yeah, cycling really is it for me. Sioux City, Iowa plane, when we crashed, we ended up in a cornfield, and 112 people died. 184 survived, including myself, but 112 died, and a part of me died in that cornfield. And
which part?
It's hard to say. I think when I look back on it now, I see my life as, before the crash, this perfect jigsaw puzzle put together. Beautiful wife, getting ready to have kids, great career. And then when that plane crash hit, that jigsaw puzzle got broken up. When I tried to put the pieces back together, they didn't quite fit. And I found that cycling gave me something to fill that void again. I don't know what it is, whether it's the speed or exhilaration or the sweat, distance that you ride.
Well, maybe it's like a challenge and being a bit more in control. Because
I think that's part of it, yeah.
What was that like, being in a plane and going down? Do you remember any thoughts or feelings you had?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. It was a feeling of total helplessness. You had no control. The cockpit crew, who you didn't know, didn't see, was in control of your life, basically. And in our particular case, we had an engine explosion, flew around in circles trying to get to an airport for 45 minutes. So we had a lot of time to think about what might happen. And I thought we were going to die. I thought all of us would. The thought hit me that people don't survive these plane crashes. And we were told we're going to crash land this plane with 300 people aboard. And I thought that was it. I really did.
Did that help you believe in God more, or just realize that there's so many things in life that we don't know?
Yeah, no, for me it was, I had no spiritual foundation whatsoever before the crash, and took a 180 after that crash, and because of it. And I look back on it now and say, well, maybe that's one of the reasons that I survived this thing, is that God could put me down this path.
Yes.
And it's one of the reasons I wanted to do RAM. I didn't want to have any regrets. I didn't want to be like those people, all those people around me who died, who might have had regrets. If I want to ride my bike across the country, I'm going to email Brad and see if he wants to go with me, and we're going to do it.
So I'm just going to say that I'm glad that's your goal, and you could do that for both of us, because that's something I was joking around before the show. I was like, maybe if it was a RAM going to a mall across the country, that would motivate me to keep going. But even then, I have to say, there were times I was holding my breath because it was dangerous. And when it was dark or raining, I worried for you guys. I knew it would end up well in some way because I was interviewing you, so I know that you survived, but worried just about heat stroke. I mean, there are people that physically really can't tolerate this kind of race. And this is for amateurs too, right? This is not...
It's exclusively, we're not professionals, so it's exclusively amateurs.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Do they do a physical examination of people?
No, and in fact, our biggest competition, the Denmark team, who was experienced, they'd been there previously, they dropped out the second day because of the heat. Yeah. So even the best person on their best day, things happen.
Right. And was it you that said, the body has a mind of its own?
Body has a mind of its own, but generally it responds to what you give it. That's the great thing about the body. That's the whole wellness piece is whatever you ask for, it will give you generally.
Yeah. Well, it was just amazing to see how it was just a family venture, and there was a wrong turn, which raised my anxiety because I have a fear of getting lost, which is a little ridiculous because I'm always in a car in New York City and there's no way I'm getting lost. But when I would drive on my own, I would get afraid, if you take a wrong turn. I never even imagined taking a wrong turn during this kind of race, which can take you 20 miles out of the way. I don't know how much it did for you, but that's a lot of wasted miles.
And in that case, we were in Kansas, so we were moving quickly. So it wasn't like if you take a wrong turn for an hour when you're going up a hill, you might lose 12 miles. But we were flying at that point. And you have to go back to where you took the wrong turn. You can't just divert and fix it. You have to go back and basically start over at that spot and come back around. So that was.
See, I'm glad you're looking at him because it was him that
it was him. That's what I thought.
I didn't think I took a wrong turn.
That's what I thought.
It was all me. I get
well,
that.
I think I focused on you because, Brad, you talk about what motivated you to get back on track. And you want to tell us a little bit more about that.
You mentioned our kids were there, and I think one of the biggest single motivators for both of us was having them there. And we're two average guys trying to be the best dads we can be, the best people we can be. And our daughter felt responsible for our daughter, who is the most organized, disciplined, focused young lady, felt responsible for the wrong turn. And so, I was like, it's fine. You could have been anybody. I could have been. But I heard her say during one of the times when he was riding, I ruined Daddy's race. And at that point, it was like, you talk about sparking a fire.
Yeah.
The German team passed us when we had to go back to where we took the wrong turn. And the rest of that day, every time I got on that bike, I saw her face, heard her voice, and it was the strongest 2-3 hours. And we caught him before the day was up.
And I really thought, when watching that, how being a parent can really help us be our best self. Because it's like one of the major relationships that helps us love somebody more than we love ourselves, that really helps us give in a different kind of way. You're running this, or you basically were doing this race with a charity in mind. You chose a charity. Can you tell me more about this charity and how you became familiar with it?
Yeah, we didn't have the charity picked out when we decided to do the race. Brad and I kind of looked at some different stuff, and we wanted to do a Christian-based charity, and came up with an orphanage in Haiti that I'd worked with before. And my wife and kids before that, life-changing experience. So we saw what it was like, and we saw the orphanage and what they were doing for these kids, and we wanted to help out. That was a real motivating factor for me, was to do it, but do it for this particular charity. And we met our fundraising goal and had a great time doing it.
That's fantastic, and what a worthy goal. We actually just interviewed yesterday the CEO of one of the charities that works in Haiti as well for orphanages. She provides schools for them where they can learn music and express themselves. And one thing I did not know is that there are parents who are very poor, who will abandon their children
Yeah.
because they feel that the orphanage could give them a better education and more opportunity. But there are a lot of broken spirits and broken hearts in third world countries. So kudos to you. What are you hoping people will learn from your movie? Because you also are, you executive produced the movie, so you must have had a mission or idea of what you wanted the takeaway to be.
Yeah, I'm hoping it stretches people. I'm hoping they look at this and they don't see, because we're not professional athletes. We're frankly two average guys that had this thing that you have this guy that says, would you like to try this? Sure, let's give it a go. And people looking at it and saying, you know what? I don't want to ride my bike across the country, but I've been thinking about this other thing.
Yeah.
It might be a career thing. It might be a relationship thing. It might be a fitness or a wellness type thing. But being willing to get out of this is way out of our comfort zones for both of us. He'd ridden across the country before. I'd done Ironmans before. But this is completely different.
Yeah.
And so our hope is that people look at this and they come out of it going, wow, those guys did it. Maybe I should try it.
Yeah. Yeah. And there are lots of themes in life.
Yeah.
In your race and in this movie, what are the most important themes you think you highlighted?
Yeah, I think when I look at Ram and I look at Godspeed, I see that race is a great metaphor for life.
Yeah.
Life can be an adventure if we choose it to be that.
Yes.
We can get off the couch and get out in front of the TV and go do stuff and enjoy it. But along the way in that venture, you're going to have obstacles. You're going to have great challenges.
Yes.
We hit weather and mechanical problems and all the stuff that goes along with Ram. Right. In life, you're going to have financial issues and marital issues and relationship issues with your kid. All these things are going to hit. But like Brad and I tried to do, we try to persevere and work through all that, get over those hurdles, get past the obstacles, and then stay on the bike, keep
stay
pedaling,
on the bike,
and then what you are on the other side is what you look back and go, wow, that was really cool.
And we always feel so good about accomplishing something that's hard won, that isn't easy.
Sure.
What did you learn about each other during this time?
We didn't have much time together. We probably,
we waved at each other a few times.
If you combine the 7-ish days that we did this, we probably spent 12 minutes together.
Wow.
Because you're always on when he's not. And so literally, you see in the film, he gives me high five as I go by. That was probably the one time that we tapped each other on the shoulder or
Interesting.
something. And you see one section where I'm like, way to go, that was awesome. That was probably the entire conversation we had that day. There's nothing.
But you must have learned something after teaming up in this way.
I learned this. I learned that you don't have to have the same personality as yourself to do something with a partner. Brad has a completely different personality, much more outgoing, much more competitive driven. He wanted to beat the Germans. I wanted to finish safely. But we made that work. And not necessarily that opposites attract, but different approaches, different attitudes, different personalities can mesh and get the job done.
Right. And often when people have complementary traits, they work out very well.
Sure.
Exactly.
So we do something here called the Quick Five, where we ask them personal questions, because as a therapist, I just have to ask those questions. Okay. So the first question you both can answer. Who wants to go first? Brad, you want to go first?
Oh, put me on the spot.
All
Okay.
right. All right. We're going to go with you. If you could know the absolute and total truth to one question, what question would you ask?
Do I have a half hour to think about this?
Oh, well, just a quick.
One question. Why in the world did my amazing wife marry me instead of all the other options?
Oh, that's so nice. That's lovely, and just in time for Mother's Day too. Okay, how about you, Jerry?
I'm gonna go with one that my mom always asked before she died, and on her deathbed she asked the same thing: who really killed President Kennedy?
Oh, that's so funny.
Or was there a conspiracy?
Well, it's still a question out there, right? When you have 30 minutes of free time, how do you pass the time? We'll start with you.
With my family.
With your family.
Crazy travel schedule for me, and I just don't get a lot of time, especially during the baseball season. Is just to be with them for 30 minutes, whether that's eating or hanging out or playing games, whatever it is.
And I don't think there's such a thing as free time. I think we choose how we spend every moment, and so that would just be a different aspect.
I agree with you. I was telling you guys before we had this interview that while I was watching the documentary, in between, my son asked me to edit a paper which was about life on Mars and artificial intelligence. So I'm glad that it didn't get merged and cut into. I realized there was a difference in topics. It's true that free time.
We choose every minute.
I feel like I never really have free time. It's always choosing, and I always need more time, especially to organize. What gets too much attention in the news?
In the news? It's 2018. Politics are ridiculously overwhelming. And
yes.
Just please,
right. Yeah.
Back off.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. We're all in agreement there.
Yep.
Okay. Do you have any ridiculous goals in life? Jerry, I'll start with you.
I'd like to do solo ram. I'd like to do race across
Don't
America.
even know what that is. What is that?
That's by yourself rather than with a race partner.
Okay.
And you get 12 days to do it. And if you're 60, you get 13 days to finish it. So that's what I'm gonna wait a couple years, turn 60, and I'm gonna try solo ram and try to race across the country on my own.
Okay. All right. How about you?
The biggest one I have recently was tied to this. My goal for the year we did Race Across America was to do that, qualify for the Hawaii Ironman World Championship, and run a sub 3-hour marathon all in the same 5-month period.
Okay.
So
I'm out of breath when I'm hearing you talk about that, but God bless you. God bless you for having those goals. Okay. What is the most spontaneous thing you've ever done?
So first date with my wife now, wasn't my wife at the time, first date. But we're walking back from dinner. She made it very clear that her boyfriend was coming into town. And the whole time we're walking down to the car to go back, I'm thinking, no risk, no gain, no risk, no gain. And I said, if I can have you back before 7 when he was coming in, would you like to go out tomorrow night? And she said yes.
Wow.
So it turned out pretty well.
It turned out well,
but
yeah.
I don't usually do that kind of stuff. And that was spontaneous and great payoff.
Yeah. Sounds like that was a really good move on your part.
I can't match that. This is a little crazy, and I promise there was no alcohol involved here. I was in Steamboat Springs, Colorado, mountain town, in the middle of winter, and I was in a hot tub, and I decided I was going to take my suit off and run down the sidewalk and jump into a snowbank.
Oh, fun!
Naked.
Oh, that sounds like a good thing to do.
Yeah, it was very spontaneous.
It's kind of nice to just throw out the rules and
just,
follow your instincts every now and again, especially if they're not self-destructive.
Right.
Well,
that could have been.
Right. Fortunately, it wasn't. And I really enjoyed meeting you and hearing your story. And we really hope everybody gets a chance to see Godspeed, a Race Across America. May 22nd, it comes out. We're going to have a link so you have all the information that you need. Thanks again for joining us, and we'll see you Monday on Talking Live.